Hello, I'm Harry from the Shabocast, and this is the 6th of a series going through all the costume pieces and variations for each Doctor. As always, there is room for human error, so if you found anything that I've missed, then do get in touch or comment below. Today I will be going through the 3rd Doctor, John Pertwee's costume pieces from Series 10, that's his 4th season, spanning through the 3 Doctors through to the Green Death. So, firstly, I want to say there is a full version of one of the costumes featured in this season, available from Costaddy. It's a fairly accurate replica, but just has a sense of almost tackiness about it. But that doesn't mean it won't do the job, as it very much looks like it. So if you can't afford to spend too much on this, then this costume will be suitable. Now, firstly, we're going to move on to the jacket, but this season features a lot of new costume pieces compared to the last 3, and I know that seems pretty hard to believe given Pertwee's already had the most costume changes out of any Doctor so far. But this season features, off from memory, about 3 new velvet jackets, 2 new Inverness capes, and about 4 new ruffle shirts, I believe. But anyway, so firstly we're going to talk about the bottle green jacket, as this is the first new jacket to feature. It appears in Frontier in Space and Carnival of Monsters in this season, and briefly in Planet of the Daleks. The cut of the jacket is something that we will see feature a lot more in season 11 particularly. The lapel is slightly unusual. There isn't a specific name for this type of lapel, as I found, but it's one similar to that style that you can find on trench coats. But it's basically detached from the top collar of the lapel is detached from the main section of the lapel. This jacket also features flap pockets and has 2 centre closure buttons. It has 3 cuff buttons, as can be seen here, and it also features in season 11, but that is something that I will cover on my videos rounding up each costume piece worn through each episode. This jacket, amazingly, is still around today and was sold off on auction a few years ago, but this gives you a good idea of the cut of the piece and shows you closer looks at the collar and the pockets and the buttons. Now, a replica of this jacket is available, but a few replicas, but none of them seem to be quite correct. The Baron Boutique one is displayed badly because the collar is not put into the right position, but the collar is correct. But the problem here is the colour of the fabric and the button choice. Also, there's something slightly off about the cut of the jacket, but apart from that, it is a relatively good replica, but for the price point, I'm not sure whether personally I'd buy it. The other replica is from Magnolia Clothiers. This seems better on first inspection, partly because it's better displayed and the buttons are better, but the actual cut of the lapels is way too high. It should really go halfway down the body of the jacket, but on this it's about 2/3 of the way up. So yeah, but all these companies are very accommodating, so if you ask them to change that part of it, then they definitely would. Now we move on to the second jacket. This featured only in the story of the Planet of the Daleks, and it's the only one of Pertwee's jackets to be double-breasted. It is almost trench coat style, short trench coat, double-breasted. The buttons are custom-made buttons, fabric made, and the actual fabric is a plum herringbone velvet, embossed herringbone velvet, which is a rarity for this season specifically, as there's no other jackets which feature embossed velvet. Luckily, this jacket still survives to this day too, and now is in, I believe, the collection of Mark Gatiss, who bought it at an auction a few years ago for around £14,000, I believe. There is also a picture on the internet, as I have here, of Peter Capaldi wearing it while he was at Mark Gatiss's house there. So it's lovely that this piece still survives. Here is a closer look at the herringbone pattern in the fabric. So that's very good for anyone who will try to make this jacket, as it's pretty impossible to find the right style of embossed herringbone velvet, as I've found. So if you would like to attempt at getting this jacket done, then you'd probably have to find someone who does custom embossed velvet, which again is another hurdle, which I don't expect many cosplayers would go to. Although I would never underestimate a cosplayer's attention to detail. Here is a nice look close up at the buttons and the inside pocket, and also the seam, the vent, on the back of the coat. Now we move on to the last new coat, which features in the Green Death. This is a navy velvet smoking jacket, featuring a peak lapel. This is the only jacket to feature that style of lapel, and it has a red bias binding piping, I think. I might be wrong, it might be a velvet piping, but it looks like bias binding. Sorry about that there. But yes, this is a much sleeker jacket, sort of, well, I'd say understated, but then it has the bright red piping around it. But this is pretty similar in that it has two buttons and two side flap pockets, like the previous one. The only difference in style is the lapel. Now, a replica of this is available from Magnolia Clothiers, and the colour matching is perfect on this. The only problem is that, like the bottle green jacket that they've done, the closure is way too high and should be a lot further down. If you can see here, it goes down to almost halfway, whereas here it's way past halfway. But as I said before, they are very accommodating, so you can easily change that. Now we move on to the first of three new Inverness capes, sorry. So, the first new one is only seen in one story, and in that story it's only seen very briefly in a few shots, but this is the last of the black Inverness capes, and this one has a blue lining. It also has 5 frog fastenings, like the previous capes, but this one has the style of frog fastening that the second red lined Inverness cape had, so it's got the 5 loops in it. It's unfortunate that this was used only once, as I quite like the colour scheme of the light blue with the black, but yeah, it's basically the same as the previous ones I've talked about, so you can always go to this seller on Etsy and ask for that colour scheme, and then I'm sure if you asked for a velvet collar and the frog fastenings, it would they'd be happy to oblige at probably some extra cost, but hey ho. Now we move on to the second new Inverness cape of this era, season, and that is the brown tweed Inverness cape with orange lining. This features in the I'm not sure if it... No, I don't think it features in Carnival of Monsters, but it does feature in Frontier in Space. So, as you can see here, it's also got a brown velvet collar. This one, like the Inverness cape from the Time Monster, has the same sort of cape pattern. So on the original capes it was 2 small wings on either shoulder, but this one has the full back wing over the shoulder. The frog fastenings go back to the style used on the purple lined Inverness cape, with only 3 loops and then the wooden toggles in between. This jacket also, this Inverness coat also features in the Time Warrior photo shoot, although I'm not sure if it does in the actual story, but you get some good quality images here and here. Now, I realised that I said there were 3 Inverness capes in the last one, but that's because I was getting confused and thought that the one used in the Green Death was a new one, but then I just remembered to myself that it came in the Curse of Peladon. Now, first of the new ruffles, this features in the 3 Doctors, later appearing again in the season 11 story, The Time Warrior. But anyway, this is a cream ruffle shirt, and it's quite simple compared to previous ones that have appeared. It's just a plain button one with 2 button spacings. The major factor about these ruffle shirts, because it's the start of a specific type of one, is that they have a double layer of fabric on the ruffle. So there's 2 layers, one with the binding around the edge and one without. And that is the same for the ruffle that features on the cuff as well. This one particularly seems to have a sort of bronzy brown gold colour edging to go with the sort of cream of the fabric. And here is a better picture of it. It seems to have 2 cuff buttons, but I could be wrong. But yeah, on this one it's oh wait, actually no, here, there, you can see clearly on the picture on the right here the 2 layers of fabric. It's quite close on the Time Warrior one / 3 Doctors one, but you can see it if you look close enough. Now we move on to the second ruffle shirt, which features new in this season, which is the one used in the Carnival of Monsters and Frontier in Space. So this one sort of harkens back to the season 9 ruffle shirt, except for it doesn't have any of the same edging. In outdoor shots it appears blue, but it's actually a light green, pale green. It has loop button fastenings with fabric covered buttons and a brown edging on the ruffle. It also, the ruffle itself loops around and doesn't cut off like straight. So the actual shirt itself closes only to halfway down the body, and then the rest is just one solid piece of fabric. This shirt is also used in the beginning of Planet of the Daleks with the jacket, but then changes accordingly. Here is a good picture of the full ruffle itself, and here are some more. Now, a ruffle this style is available from Magnoli, who did the season 9 ruffle as well. If I had to say anything, I'd say the ruffle is a bit wide and the gathering isn't tight enough on the ruffle. So if you were to get one from here, I'd advise to ask them to tighten up the gathering and shorten the fabric used on the ruffle. Now we move on to a sort of oddball, because this ruffle shirt is never actually properly seen in Planet of the Daleks. But it is the pink ruffle shirt that goes with the plum smoking jacket. You can see from this image and from a few later on that it has the 2 layers of fabric on the cuffs, and like the one that features in the 3 Doctors. So you can safely assume from that it's going to be the same sort of style. And given from these close-up images you can't actually see an edging on it, then they usually copy the style of the edging on the cuff to the edging on the ruffle. So if there's no edging on the cuff, then there'll be no edging on the ruffle, and vice versa. So you can assume that the ruffle on this shirt would go sort of about a foot down from the collar and then cut off, and it would be 2 pieces of fabric either side ruffled with no edging. Now we move on to the last new ruffle shirt of this season, and that is the blue ruffle shirt. This is the same style as the Planet of the Daleks one and the Three Doctors one, with no edging like the Planet of the Daleks one. But it is a very nice sort of greyish pale blue, and goes very well with the navy jacket. This sort of shirt is available from Magnolia Clothiers, but their replica, it leaves a lot to be desired. It's got the right sort of, it's got the double fabric for the ruffle, but the ruffle doesn't come down the chest enough, and it doesn't, there's more of an angle, so it's like a longer slope down to the centre of the shirt, whereas this sort of just abruptly cuts off. And also this one seems to not have buttons for some reason, whereas the one in the original does have buttons showing in pairs of 2, so I don't know what's going on there. But you can always ask for these adjustments, but my suggestion would be to make your own. If you just buy a set of 2 shirts, then you can just cut one up and use that for the fabric for the ruffle. I've done it myself and it's not too difficult, and I'm by no means talented sewing, a talented sewer, not talented sewing, I don't know what I'm saying there, sorry. Now we move on to the first of 4 bow ties / neck garments. Well, no, 5 bow ties and / neck garments. You'll see why I'm saying / neck garments. But anyway, firstly, in the Three Doctors, we see the debut of a black velvet bow tie. Easily enough purchasable. You can just go on somewhere like Etsy or eBay or Amazon and just type in black velvet bow tie, and they will come up for relatively cheap. Now, this is where I'm stumped. Not for what it is, but what it's called. Well, actually for what it is as well. It's what features in Carnival of Monsters. And it's basically, it seems like an extra big floppy bow tie, but it's too small to be a cravat, and also it's very hard to find a cravat that's velvet, and this is velvet. But I know that it is black and velvet, so if you just sort of try and search for something similar on eBay or Etsy, then I'm sure that will suffice. Now we move on to the bow tie featuring in Frontier in Space. This is a brown velvet bow tie, much similar to the Three Doctors one, but just a different colour. And like the Three Doctors one, this should be available easily on Etsy, eBay or Amazon. I should also note that in Carnival of Monsters, for one scene and one scene only, the Doctor adorns a different kind of cravat / neck garment thing. That one features a paisley pattern on it and is brown, but it features for so little screen time that I thought it wasn't worth including. Now we move on to the bow tie that features in Planet of the Daleks. For this specific bow tie, it's a paisley pattern, sort of very intricate, but you can, these are the best screen grabs that I could find of it. You can see it here, but of this specific one, I actually tried to recreate it on Photoshop. So what I'm dragging on screen now is my sort of recreation based on what is seen here. You can tell from the screen caps that both sides feature the same pattern but mirrored. so I just assumed that would carry on for the rest of the bow tie, so I've just mirrored the pattern over each part. And yeah, so if you want to create your own, here's some good reference. You could just screenshot your screen right now, and that will do. However, if you can't be bothered to screenshot that and custom print your own based on that, then there are quite a few paisley bow ties available on eBay or Etsy, so check those out. And now we move on to the final new bow tie of this season. This is just a red silk bow tie. This one's not velvet, as you can see by the way it reflects light, so you can just find those relatively easily again on eBay or Etsy or Amazon. Now we move on to one of the last pieces of this video. This is the second waistcoat to feature in a Doctor Who story. This is the red velvet one from the Green Death, which also later appears in Death to the Daleks. But this one features 5 buttons, but of course you never do up to the bottom button of a waistcoat. But yeah, it's got 5 buttons and no collar to it, as some of Pertwee's later waistcoats did have a collar. So red red velvet waistcoats of this style are quite easy to find on eBay. So if you want a budget option, it will be there for the taking. However, Magnolia Clothiers do a version of this waistcoat, but in my view it is quite expensive for what it is. That being said, it is a very faithful replica of the waistcoat, so if you have money, buy it. Now, that has been my comprehensive Season 10 costume guide. I'd like to give a quick thanks to the Facebook group Doctor Who Photo Research for the high quality images which have been very helpful in my research. If you have any questions or anything, comment down below or contact me on shabocast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. I shall be doing more, as you know, and if you've been following this series. But yeah, until then, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Cheers.